Welcome to Northern California SBDC Small Business Development Center's CARES Updates live Q&A for all small businesses. We're bringing this to you by Northern California. We're excited to be here today. I'm excited it's Friday. Hopefully you're excited as well. This is our 21st session over the last, month or so. Today is May 22nd, and we want you to know that we are all in this together. So an introduction, the Northern California SBDC network, we are the largest consulting firm in the US, funded by SBA, Small Business Administration. This is our 40th year of existence, and in the state of California, we are also funded by the Governor's Office of Economic Development, which is called GoBiz. And because of our funding, we come to you, small business owners and organizations, at no cost. There's no cost for us to meet with you confidentially and assess your financials or your business and see what needs and what you would like to accomplish. So we can do that with you at no cost. We also offer webinars, workshops, educational events such as this, mostly at no cost. So this is I'm part of the Finance Center, which is a division under Northern California SBDC network. As a network, we are 38 counties northern of California. So we are, we go from the Oregon border down the coast to Santa Cruz. We cover all 9 counties of the Bay Area. We go southeast to Stockton, then back up through Nevada border and the Oregon border. That's our territory. It's large, it's vast. My name is Scott Rogowski. I'm the director of the Finance Center. And then I also have Sunita Maharaj. She's the Associate Director of the Northern California Finance Center. And within our center, before COVID, we helped people start, grow, and access capital on any platform that they were trying to do. Now, during COVID, we have kind of rerouted our team to specialize in nothing but these disaster loans, whether it be the PPP or the EIDL or state loan guarantees, or maybe a direct loan fund that doesn't exist today, but will in the future. We are educating ourselves on all these platforms to bring to you so that you can get the capital you need to stay in business, recover, or possibly relaunch. So a quick agenda. We have a disclaimer. We're gonna talk about the PPP kind of calculations, kind of go over finding PPP lenders if you're having trouble. There is still money available for PPP money. Just have to find the right lenders and we can help you with that. The EIDL loan, California state loan guarantees. We are partnering with attorneys. I just got a call this morning about that. And a quick SBA update. If SBA joins us, we're hoping that somebody from SBA will join us. And then we have a guest speaker today that we're very excited to have. We have Michelle Elder C.P.A. She is our guest speaker. So after I go through my updates real quick, we'll get to Michelle. She'll do a presentation, and then we will go to Q&A. In the meantime, as I'm speaking or Michelle's speaking, Sunita and myself will be answering questions in the Q&A and try to go through that one off so that we have less questions to answer at the end. But as a disclaimer, things are changing all the time. This information was correct when we put it together as a team. So, there is still money available for PPP, and if you're not sure how to use it or how to spend it or whatever, and you have those questions, please do not hesitate to apply. That money is available to small business owners and nonprofits at very little cost as far as percentage rates. There is no fees to get the loans. There's no prepayment penalty. But we ask you to please do not hesitate or disqualify yourself from applying because you just never know. If you have investors or partners within the ownership structure of your company, we do ask that you reach out to them to see if it makes sense to take this debt. We do not have access to check the status of if you applied for an EIDL and where it is in the queue. We do know this though, that SBA has mentioned several times that if you are in the queue, if you applied after March 29th and before the portal shut down, they are going to get to you eventually. We just ask that you be patient. They had 30 million applications. Really hard to get through all those in one day, as you can imagine. So they're working through those, and people are still getting funded. They are going to assign a case manager to you, and they will let you know if you're declined or approved. If you're waiting for a PPP approval from your lender and you haven't talked to them in a few days, we ask that you be very, very, very proactive. If they're not answering their phones, we ask that you walk down there and talk to them, because they need to get back to you. This money is limited, and you need to find out if you have an SBA loan number assigned to your loan. If you do not, then it might be best to reach out to us and we can help you find another lender. All right, so the PPP, which is called Paycheck Protection Program. It's a 1% loan at 2 years. It is a 6-month deferment on the payment. So if you do not make a monthly payment until after 6 months, then it will turn into an 18-month loan. You'll have 18 months to pay it back at 1%. There's a universal form that you can find on the Treasury's website if you have not applied, or you can email us at loans@asksbdc.com and we can assist you. If you're a sole proprietor, you need to gather all your 1099s from 2019. You need to have your 2019 Schedule C either drafted for 2019 or actually filed. If you do not have either, then you can use your 2018. It's just better to have most updated numbers. If you're a different entity besides a sole proprietor, you need to gather your W-2s, all for 2019 W-2s, all 941s or 940s, your quarterly reports, and what you, so this is the minimal amount of information that you are gonna need for PPP. Every lender has their other requirements that you're going to need, and if you have issues or questions on how to do that, Michelle might be able to answer that for you as a CPA, but at SBDC, we can help you with that and help you gather those documents. We get a lot of questions like, hey, when does the 8 weeks start? So the 8 weeks start the day you get funded. So if it's today, it starts today. But if your payroll period, your first payroll period doesn't start till Sunday, which is very common for a lot of businesses that are on biweekly, then your 8 weeks would start Sunday instead of today. So it is kind of confusing. There is it's called a covered period. The 8 weeks is a covered period. There's a standard covered period, which is if you got funded today or the day you got funded. And there's also what's called an alternative covered payroll covered period. And with that, if you get funded on a Monday, but your first payroll doesn't come out until Sunday, you can choose that Sunday as your 56-day start period. It's a little confusing, but we're gonna hopefully get some Q&A about that. What's forgivable? This is also some information that's very, very basic, what we're sharing here, because there's an 11-page guide that came out last Friday, a week ago, and there's going to be more guides and descriptions on how all this works. But in a highly basic, very simple, 75% or more spent on payroll costs should be 100% forgiven, and 25% or less spent on rent, utilities, or interest, mortgage, it's meaning you own your building or have a loan on it, should be potentially 100% forgiven. So Schedule C, Schedule K, if you're trying to figure out how to calculate your loan amount and your loan forgivable amount, here's an equation. We talked about this on every webinar that we've done since we found out this information a couple weeks ago. But the really important to know is the highlighted portion here. It's $15,385 is your max forgivable amount. It's not your max loan as a sole prop, but your max forgivable amounts in the 8-week period. So and that is, if you want to know where that number came from, if you take $100 grand, which is the max that they'll give for fullness of forgivability, $100,000 salary. If you made $100,000 on your Schedule C last year, you take $100,000 divided by 52, divided by 52 weeks, and then times by 8, which is an 8-week period, you get $15,385. If you have a Schedule K, you need to find your loan amount for your payroll amount in box number 14. And then it's similar to a Schedule C on how they calculate it, depending on how many people you have inside your LLC or other partnership business. So there is still money available, despite what you think you know or what you heard. We get direct correlation and interaction with SBA from DC and local. So there is still money available. We heard on Wednesday it was 100 billion, a little over 100. I'm assuming it's probably between 80 and 100 billion. But these monies are easier to find either at nonprofit lenders like Lendistry in Southern California or Opportunity Fund in San Francisco that do statewide loans for non-customers up to $2 million. Lendistry goes up to $2 million. Opportunity Fund goes up to 150,000. Those are nonprofit lenders. And then there's also medium-sized banks that are still open for business today as we speak for non-customers, and that's Gateway Bank out of the Bay Area, and then also, also Pacific Enterprise Bank. If you want to know how to connect with them, you can email us here and we'll get you connected to a lender today. These are non-federally regulated PPP approval, either direct lenders like Opportunity Fund or Blue Vine Capital, which is a online aggregator for PPP lenders. And that means they have access to hundreds of PPP lenders across the country that want to lend to you. And they are a fintech, financial technology platform company. They don't have a brick and mortar that you can go and talk to, but they are very, very efficient and quick at processing these PPP loan applications to get you to a lender within a day or two. Regardless if you apply on a Sunday, they are getting back to business owners with options within a day or two, which is pretty amazing. But here's a bunch of them. You can choose whichever one you want. Like I mentioned, a couple of these are direct lenders like Opportunity Fund, and others are broker platforms. But thanks to SBA, you don't have to pay anything to get connected with a lender if you go through a broker platform. SBA is taking care of those lenders on the back end. You do not have to pay anything for these loans, regardless if you go direct to a lender or a broker. Okay, so that's the PPP. It's the most common loan that we have available today for all business owners is PPP. Then there's the EIDL. And the EIDL is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is a loan, not forgivable. There's an EIDL advance that is 100% forgivable that you can spend on whatever you want. And the EIDL advance is $1,000 for every employee that you have, up to 10. So if you're a sole proprietor, it's $1,000. If it's 10 or more employees, it's $10,000. That's 100% forgivable. Your money, you can do whatever you want with that money. Nobody's going to check on you to spend that money the right way. On the PPP though, people are going to be checking what you spend it on and how well your historical data and tracking is to get that 100% forgivable. They are tracking that. For the EIDL loan, it's not forgivable, but it's a great loan. It's 30 years, 3.75% for for-profits, 2.75% for nonprofits. And every loan is 30 years and every loan is 11 months deferred. So you do not have to make a payment until the first of the 12th month. Interest does accrue during that time though, but your first payment's not due until the first of the 12th month. Okay, so currently, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your business model, EIDL is only open for agricultural businesses today. We're hoping that they're going to reopen it for all businesses, but we're not sure when. We do not have that answer. I'll say it one more time. We do not have the answer when EIDL will reopen. We get it about 15 times during these calls. We do not know when it's going to open. So if you're an agricultural business, you could apply today. If you apply before March 29th and you have a loan number that starts with a 2, then you can also reapply today. If you are not agriculturally business model and you don't have a 2 and you just want to apply to see if you can apply, the system doesn't know if you're one of those 2 things. So it lets you apply, but it will email you back and tell you that you're not approved. There's some forms that you may or may not need to get together and prepare that we can help you with for the EIDL to move it faster. But we are being told that there's very limited information that they are asking for, which is great and makes it a lot easier. So for some reason, if you are disqualified and you're not supposed to disqualify yourself from applying for these loans, and we're not allowed to discourage you from applying for these loans because we really don't know if you're going to get approved or declined until you apply. So if for whatever reason you are declined or disqualified from an EIDL and a PPP, has to be both, you potentially could qualify for what's called a California State Disaster Guarantee Loan. So this is how it works. The EIDL is direct money from SBA to you as a business. There's no lenders involved. The PPP is direct money from everyday lenders that you bank with or other 7A lenders or the ones I mentioned that are online. Those monies come directly from those lenders and they go to you as your business. But what SBA is doing is they're 100% backing those loans in case something happens, you're not able to pay back the loan. SBA will pay back that loan to that lender at 100%. The other things within that is the state guarantee loans. These are loans that are from lenders, just like SBA 7A lenders, but they do the state guarantee. So if the lender is cautious in doing the loan with you and they want a little bit more risk adverse of a platform, they are going to ask the state to guarantee it. So it's a state guarantee instead of a federal guarantee on the SBA side. If you are a non-USID individual, or you're a 501c6 like a chamber, you don't have any payroll, or you're delinquent on other federal lien loans, such as a student loan that you forgot to pay back, or another business loan that you had with SBA that with another venture. If you're any one of those, you are disqualified for an EIDL and PPP. If that's the case, and you want a little loan, a microloan up to $50,000, you can go to ibank.ca.gov. If you you're a larger business and you want a loan up to $1 million, you have to go through what's called financial development corporations. There's known as FDCs. There's 7 in the state. There's 2 in our Northern California region. There's one in Oakland called NorCal FDC. And there's a gentleman, he's on our finance center team. His name's Chris Horton. You can reach out to him. His email's here. That's if you're in the Bay Area or Solano South. If you're in the Sacramento area, Sacramento region, north to Oregon border, you can email us at loans@asksbdc.com, and Sunita and I will get you connected to the right person at the Sacramento FDC, Financial Development Corporation, which is called California Capital. And they work with local lenders in that area to help place this capital. So you have California Capital in Sacramento, and you have NorCal FDC in the Bay Area. So we joined forces with an attorney coalition. So they're called Case Force. So we joined up with Case Force, and now we are offering it's free. So they call it pro bono since they're attorneys, but there's no cost. There's office hours from 4 to 5:30 where they'll just answer any question around EDD, real estate law, employment, and then I'll be on there for loans. And then from 3 to 4 every Thursday, they have specific training that they do on certain things. So we can get this information out to you, but it comes to you at no cost. All right, so we do not have SBA on the call. I don't see them. Unfortunately, maybe they will join a little bit later. The best thing about SBA is they are here for you just like we are. They will answer your phone call. They will send you back an email. They will talk to you. But if you're having trouble getting to them, you can get to us at no cost. We'll help you get there. The great thing about SBA right now is if you are a business that is sustaining or possibly growing or starting, really, if you want to launch a business, so you found a great opportunity to launch in a certain trend, if you get an SBA 7A loan or 504, 7A is mostly working capital, starting businesses, buying businesses. 504 is mostly large pieces of equipment or real estate. SBA will pay your principal and interest payment for the next 6 months, which is amazing. So these are regular loans. I don't know if this has ever been done before, but it's phenomenal. It's great. It's exciting. SBA is doing some great stuff. All right. So we have a guest speaker today. So we are going to get to our guest speaker. Her name is Michelle Elder C.P.A. She is the owner of Elder Accountancy, a full-service CPA firm which has offices in California and Nevada, where they look at more than just the numbers. Ms. Elder's professional career in public accounting began in 1979 with a local CPA firm. During her career, she has worked for national, regional, and local firms until starting her firm in 2004. Michelle has been teaching financial literacy for over 30 years to her small to medium-sized businesses, including not-for-profit organizations and individuals emphasizing running their business by the numbers. Her proactive, straightforward approach with her clients diminishes anxiety over taxes. And she tells her clients, the only surprises I like to give come in a box with a bow. That's exciting. All right, I'll pass it over to Michelle Elder. I'll stop sharing my screen and we will go into her presentation.
Thank you for inviting me, Scott, and hello, everyone. Since it's been pushed off to the 15th of July, this is actually my 41st tax season, which is completely the most oddest time of my entire career is this year. We've gone from doing taxes to helping clients do stimulus packages, getting their tax returns done, and helping SBA with getting loans. I have been asked, not just by my clients, but also other people who call me because they know I'm a CPA, and have asked, how do I account for this money? What do I do with it? So AICPA, who is the guidance for CPAs in the entire country, issued some guidance on the 20th of May, and this presentation is based on that guidance. And this is how I believe, based on my interpretation, is how these funds should be accounted for. Not everybody keeps track of their accounting in QuickBooks. So I have, in this presentation, I put together an Excel spreadsheet that also has all the formulas in it. So, and you are welcome to have that spreadsheet to be able to use it as guidance. As Scott said, it's based on one of two things when your loan starts. That's either the day you get it or the day your first payroll. So those are the 2 days you need to look at. If you do not use QuickBooks, the Excel spreadsheet, if we can pull that up and show everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Hang on a second. Screen one. Yeah, there we go. Let me know if you can all see it.
Perfect.
Let me
So on my example, there are 4 categories of expenses that you're allowed for the forgiveness piece of it to be: payroll, mortgage interest, and that's mortgage interest for existing loans, rent or lease payments, and utilities. We can discuss some of this more in detail. I've got categories and explanations of what are allowable expenses to go into these categories. So for this one here, I used the date we received the loan. So it's on 4/2. We got a $250,000 loan. And on 4/5 is our first payroll, $43,000. And the way I've set this up, it's going to start subtracting every single time so that you know where you are on how much more money you have to spend. Your health insurance, any group health insurance, which includes dental, life insurance, any type of benefits that you're actually providing to your employees. That also includes a pension if you've got that the employer is doing a match. I've got rent, and that's rent that was already, you had an agreement before 2/15. So it's something you already had an agreement for. Copy payment. That is, if you have a lease on a copy machine, you have a lease on a postage machine, any type of, if you have leases on computers, you're able to take those also. But again, those agreements all had to be before 2/15. Utilities. Utilities count for telephone, water, garbage, your internet, any electricity, gas, so PG&E, SMUD, any of those count. If you have a program that you keep track of all your clients that you have to spend, that is considered dues and subscriptions. That is not utilities. So we go through and every single, I would put together a file folder. I would keep this updated. I would take a copy of every single one of these bills that you pay with the date on it, and I would stick it in that file folder because the bank is going to want to have this backup. I would take your payroll journals, also print those out and keep a copy of them in this file folder. It's all in one place. You don't have to go look for it. We'll talk a little bit more about what you need to add back or include in the payroll after we get to the bottom. Can we get to the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet and see the percentages? So at the end of the 8 weeks, I have put together the percentages of how much all this came out. So the column D is for payroll. It has to at least be 75% of the entire loan. As you can see here, 96% of it's being done. And then we've got the other two cannot exceed the 25%. So for this example, we would have a loan completely forgiven. So that's how you keep track of it if you do not have any type of QuickBooks or Sage or any other general ledger package that you're using. If you are using a QuickBooks program, what I'm recommending to my clients do is they set up a new account in their chart of accounts under current liabilities. They call it PPP Loan. When they also at the same time, I would recommend setting up the individual class accounts. I would set up payroll, rent, interest, and utilities. So when you post those into, so you've got all the dates, and when you post them, it's all going to go into this one account. You don't have to go look everywhere for it. It's all in one location. You just have to print it all out. You can print that out and then have all the backup and submit that to the bank. The Internal Revenue Service has also come back. They do not want to see any of these expenses recorded in your profit and loss statement. They don't want to see them on your tax return. So there's going to probably be some audits that are going to be associated with this money. So if you're doing it this way and you're accounting for it this way, then you should be in really good shape. I've got some criteria in my, to post the deposit. Some of the lenders are setting up separate bank accounts with this loan money in it, which is fine to keep track of it a little bit easier. But unfortunately, if you're running payroll, that payroll's already been set up with your, whatever your bank account is that you're using for it, either a specialized payroll account or a regular checking account that you're running all your bills also through. So I would just transfer money from that account to your regular checking account, because then you don't have to change anything with your payroll, or if you're running ACHs out to pay your regular bills. Again, I put everything in a file folder. It's all in one place. So based on the reading that came out with SBA last Friday, it was all news to all of us. So there's the gross payroll that goes in here, but there's a reduction of this based on if you have employees who are at home because they've got children and they've got spouses and they're helping out. There's actually FMLA money that the CARES Act has actually, you're going to get a tax credit on that, on your 941s. So those monies cannot be included in this payroll that we're trying to get forgiven. They have to be backed out. Also, if you're more than a 20% owner of your company or as a partner, you also cannot include your income in here as a payroll expense. Yes, I know, you can't shoot the messenger. Nobody knew this on the front end, but now that the guidance is coming out and it's still not even final, this is what we're being told is the way we have to get the forgiveness. So gross payroll actually includes tips, payments for leave, allowances for separation. So if you're paying them out sick leave, vacation, all that, and housing allowances. The only payroll taxes that are available to be included in this payroll that's forgiven is state unemployment and employment training tax. That's the only two. So no FICA, no federal withholding, no other tax. Those are the only two that you're allowed. Again, there's group health insurance that's included in that, and the pensions, payments for your retirement. Interest on mortgages, on real estate and personal property. So if you had a loan and you're paying for it for a piece of equipment, and as long as it was prior to 215, that interest can be included on the forgivable interest piece. Same with any mortgage. You have if you have a building that you own, that interest would be included. If you have an interest on your personal home and that's your home office, that is also included. Rent and leasing payments for real estate and personal property arrangements. So like I said earlier, if you rent an office space, if you rent equipment, you can take those as a deduction as long as those agreements were prior to 215. Again, utilities include electricity, gas, water, telephone, internet access. And all those services had to have been in play prior to 215 also. That's my recommendation for now. The Internal Revenue Service has been really clear about how they want to see this. The AICPA has issued some guidance. They're saying they still do not have enough information from SBA. So they're waiting for finalization also. So this is still a moving target. We will give you as much information as soon as we get it. I get between 8 to 20 updates a day from different avenues. So if you need to reach out to me, I'm available for you. Anybody on the team, obviously, I send team members updates as soon as I get them every single day. So as much as we can possibly give you, we're here to help.
Thank you. Scott, are you?
Yeah, I'm just frantically trying to go through these questions. They're coming out of like the woodworks, like it's nutty. Yeah, so Michelle, you're all done?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. That was quick. All right, so thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you for the great information and everything, and thanks for being readily available to help these business owners. And yeah, Michelle does excellent work for a lot of our clients that we have at SBDC. So I wanted to thank her very much for that too as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. You're welcome. All right, so we are going to. All right, so sorry, I was typing. I was typing into an email or to a question as Alan talked to me. Okay, let's see here. So we have 60 questions we have answered. We have 70 in the queue, and they just keep coming. So we are going to do our best in the next 56 minutes to answer all these questions. If we do not get to you, Alan, can you show that one page, please, about our contact info? It's the last slide.
Sure.
So they can call us or email us if they have any questions. If you call us, you get to a live person faster than if you email us. But we do have a great team. We've staffed up, and our goal is to get back to you same day. That's our goal. And if you call, it's better, it's easier. And as I speak, there's questions everywhere. All right. So Sunita and I are going to do our best to answer these questions. And then also, if there is a CPA question specific that we can't answer, or if we're having trouble answering the question, Michelle will jump in. All right. I'll start with a long one. All right. So as a sole proprietor who banks from a personal checking account, how can I prove that my PPP went to owner compensation replacement? Also, if I do not plan on reporting any additional items for forgiveness, should I simply pay myself 75%, or should I pay myself the entire amount with the understanding that 25% will turn into a loan? It's a great question. I'm not sure if Michelle has come up against people banking from a personal checking account to a business checking account and it not being 100% forgiven. So I'll pose that to you, Michelle, if you've seen that or know about that.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's coming out of your personal account or if it's coming out of a business account, as long as you can prove that it went to something that that is forgivable. But if you're planning right out of the gate, not even to have it forgivable, and you want to turn it into a loan anyway, book it as a loan. It's 1%. Pay off your credit cards.
Yep. Great advice. Also, if you want it to be 100% forgiven on yourself, paying yourself 75%, you just can't go over that max of $15,385 that we talked about for the first 8 weeks. But again, Michelle's right. If you don't care, then roll it over to 1%. It's a great rate. We are not fully opened and have limited hours and income compared to previous year at this time. Our employees make more on unemployment than they could make working full time. Can we pay our staff bonuses? All right. So if it's not a normal practice for you to pay your staff bonuses, like it's not a historical data item that you did or pattern in 19, then the answer is no, you can't do it. You can't do it and make it forgivable. You can do it if you don't want it forgivable. And if your employees are making more on unemployment than you can pay them, then you want the money to be forgivable, you need to pay them to sit at home. That's just the way the law was written. PPP was written so that you would pay people to get off unemployment. That's what it was used for. I own a restaurant with 14 employees. All of our servers work at restaurants and some make more money at their other jobs. If they refuse to work during the 8-week PPP window, will our forgiveness be disqualified? All of our employees are active on payroll. So on the 11-page guide, which hopefully Alan or Sunita can put that in the chat so people can download this 11-page guide if you're not aware of it, there's this thing called Safe Harbor where whatever your FTE was, which full-time employee is 40 hours or more, whatever your FTE was before February 15th, whatever that number was, say it was 10, and then you have until June 30th to do your best, and you have to kind of prove how you did that, to get your full-time employment status back up to what it was before February 15th. And if you are unsuccessful in doing that and you've documented it with letters to your staff, then yes, it will be okay to be 100% forgiven if you can't bring them all back. Yeah. It says, I'm a sole prop who received a PPP loan for the next 8 weeks. So stop certifying for unemployment benefits through EDD once 8 weeks are up. Am I allowed to recertify the unemployment benefit? So the quick answer is yes, but I don't know if Sunita wants to talk about this, like if there's a process they have to follow or if they can just somehow react it or.
So if you receive the money at the same time, PPP and your PUA or your PUI or whatever, then when you're filling out your paperwork for EDD, you would state that you did earn money that week or those weeks. And then that's how you notify them that you are receiving money. At this point in time, that I believe that is still the case. It may or may not change, but you can always go online to EDD to find out exactly it is what's needed. I know it's very difficult to get a hold of them, but I believe that they did hire more individuals to help with that, to get questions answered.
Okay, thank you. Define transportation, please. Gas, ? Fleet, loan payments, ? Maintenance like tires, oil charges. So we actually have not received extended guidance on this unless Michelle is familiar with anything else that came out, but it does say in the non-eligible non-payroll costs, it says under utilities that you can use transportation, and we don't know, I don't know if that's fuel or freight or whatever, and we don't know, I doubt it is like tires and oil changes and maintenance, but at this time we just don't know. All right, cool. All right. If my company is an S Corp and I as owner have always been an employee, where do I list myself on the forgiveness application? They talk about owner employee going in a different, but I don't know if that also includes me who is an employee of an S Corp. Do you know that answer, Michelle?
It's actually on the forgiveness worksheet. It goes on Schedule A, and I've walked through it, and it looks like they're gonna back you out of the forgiveness side of it. I've reached out to the AICPA for guidance on if that's their interpretation, but so far on this worksheet, that's what it looks like.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there's some questions on here that have like a lot of numbers and a lot of dates, and I'm gonna read it to see if we can answer it, but if we can't, we're just probably gonna ask you to email us. It says covered period Monday 4/13 to Sunday 6/7. Payroll twice a month. First payroll paid 4/15 for hours worked 3/26 to 4/11. Can we include payrolls on 4/15, 4/30, 5/15, 5/31 and covered period? All right, so I'm not gonna be able to answer this question on this call like this, so I'm just gonna ask you to email us or call us at asksbdc.com. You can like find out some information there, but you should call us right now at 833-ASK-SBDC or email us at loans@asksbdc.com. I forgot to mention that we do have a great team that is 100% Spanish speaking. So if you have questions in Spanish and you want to know about the loans or PUA, PUI, or all these questions that we're trying to go through right now in English, you can email the team at espanol@asksbdc.com. and that is Oscar Garcia at the California Hispanic Chamber, SBDC partner, and his team there. So go ahead and do that. If you get PPP on June 2nd, but pay period goes to June 15th, can we reapply? Can we apply payroll started June 2nd, or do we have to wait until the end of the pay period? Well, technically, if you get the money on June 2nd, your pay period or your alternative pay period, cover period, could start your first payroll date after June 2nd. It doesn't matter how long your pay period goes, per se. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question. If you, the name of Jen Hutt, or who asked that question, if you have more questions, please email us on that. Can you clarify again how the owner's income gets forgiven? So depending on the ownership structure, if the Schedule C shows income for a sole prop, they can show it that way. If it's a sole prop, other entity, they just need to show it through a W-2 or some sort of. Michelle, have you heard anything of being possibly forgiven if it's a draw, and how to document it, or not really?
Yeah, so like a partnership that doesn't, actually the IRS doesn't even want you to have a W-2, so you pull it out as draws. They're saying the max, again, it's like being self-employed, it's $100,000. And so it'd be the same exact dollar amount as the 100,000 divided by 52 times 2.5. So that same $13,000.
Okay, cool. Say again, more than 20% owners not allowed, question mark. What if the owner is the main worker in the company?
Hey, like I said out loud, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading what the application says and filling out the forgiveness paperwork. So it's available to download. I would download it. I would walk through it yourself. The instructions are extremely clear. They want you to be in a category. Doesn't matter if you work every day. I mean, I work every day too, and I own my company. So it's going to go into a different category to make sure that you're paying your employees.
Okay, thank you. It says, I'm an S Corp. I have done owner withdrawals. Is it better to put myself on payroll?
If you are earning revenue from the guidelines of the Internal Revenue Service and you're an S Corp, you are required to be on W-2. Required. Not 100% of it, but at least all your earnings that you're earning, if you've got other employees, you can pull some of that money out, but you're supposed to be getting a W-2 already.
True, that's true. If it's common practice, then yes. All right, this question, if I read the 11-page document here, let's see, it says she said garbage is covered earlier, but it's not on her Word doc. Please clarify. I've been told no as of last week. So in the non-eligible, in the non-payroll eligible costs, it doesn't say garbage. It just says electricity, gas, water, transportation, telephone, or internet access for which service began before February 15th. So it doesn't say garbage. I'm not sure who heard that, but it doesn't say garbage. But guess what? When the new rendition comes out, it might say garbage. We don't know. Can you clarify about the business owner salary deduction? There is a salary deduction mentioned in the 11-page document. I'm not sure where it is. There's some information on page 2 about that, but I'm going to ask that person to email us. Please talk about the owner on payroll forgiveness. Okay, so we've talked about owners so many times on payroll forgiveness. I'm going to tell a lot of these people, please just email us. There is ways to get it forgiven if you're a sole prop or other entity. You just have to document it properly, and it has to be a common practice that you've experienced either in 2019 from your reports, or in from January 1st, from January 1st to February 29th of this year. Again, a lot of questions around the 20% ownership. I'm going to ask everybody, those people, to email us because Michelle explained that very well as it is written. So we're doing our best. We've been through 90 questions. We have 42 minutes. We still have 85. Doesn't seem like they're going down. All right. Is the FTE an average of the 8 weeks, or do they just need to be back to work? If so, can you have them back for 40 hours the 7th week? Will they be considered 1.0 FTE? If you need to use the June 30th date, how many hours do you need to have them back? So it's not specific how many hours you need to have them back before June 30th. There is no explanation of that. Excuse me. In good faith, as a business owner, you need to do your best to get everyone back. If you had 4 full-time employees before February 15th, your goal is to get back to 4 full-time employees before June 30th. We don't know how many hours they have to work. Does an owner who takes a draw count as an FTE? I didn't include my draw in my calculations when I submitted my PPP loan application, but I understand I can use some of the funds for my draw. I don't know if an owner that takes a draw counts as an FTE. Does Sunita or Michelle, do you know? I don't know that answer.
Most owners are considered by default full-time
Okay.
FTE.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I like that. Okay. I'm a W-2 owner. Since my pay was used to calculate the PPP loan, how can it be used to figure the forgiveness? Well, that's easy. So it's payroll costs. If you're a W-2 employee, it's the easiest way to calculate it. If you're self-employed, it's a little bit tricky. But as a W-2 owner, you need to take your payroll costs, which is your pay, your benefits, your healthcare, your 401k contributions, your state taxes, all that stuff, and times it by 8 weeks of what. So you divide it by 52, you take your W-2 amount, divided by 52 times by 8 weeks, and that's your forgivable amount. How should we calculate mortgage interest on our personal homes that we use as a home office? So you take your annual mortgage interest and you divide it by 12, so you get your monthly. And then what you need to do is, actually, I apologize. You take your annual interest divided by 52 weeks, times it by 8. And then you take, this is very confusing, but it depends on how much of your house you actually rent or use as an office. So if it's 25% of your house, then you can do 25% of your monthly interest. So I know that's so whoever asked that question, go ahead and email us or call us if that didn't answer your question. Did Michelle say owners with more than 20% interest can't pay themselves payroll? So I think, again, that goes back to what she was saying, but if that's a different question, Michelle, than before, there's a lot of questions around this 20%.
I own my business 100% and I get a payroll check. I'm an S Corp. Just the guidelines on the forgiveness part, though, you need to go through the application and read it. It says for more than 20% owners. So follow the instructions. It's pretty straightforward. They're saying that they want it isolated on Schedule A. So like I said, follow the instructions. It's in the chat. You can pull it down. Take your own personal numbers and fill out the forgiveness part. If you need any assistance, I can totally help you.
Yeah, there's a ton of the same questions in here. All right, so we've answered 100. There's still 77. We have 38 minutes. And yeah, all right. So PTO, if we pay accrued PTO for the year to furloughed employees, will be considered for forgiveness. I don't know the answer to that. I would have to, have you,
Well, in my instructions, it does say allowance for separation. So if you had PTO, accrued PTO, and you as the employer paid it out so that they could get paid, that would be included. If you did it during the time that you had the PPP loan.
okay.
So there are,
If you're doing that and your employees are on unemployment, now you're going to cause them to have a problem because now you're giving them earned income and they're on unemployment.
and so Michelle, I know I'm just going to clarify because this question also comes up. So if they were terminated prior to the 8 weeks, can they use those funds?
Then I would say yes.
Okay. Can they use those funds for termination, you know, what they owed them?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're paying them within that 8-week period. So that would be included in that payroll.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So somebody's sharing, they applied for the EIDL on March 30th and just this week got my offer from SBA. So it's really good news to know. Thank you. It's about 2 months from the time that you applied. So it's really good to know kind of how far they are in processing the 30 million applications they received. I'm a small restaurant owner with 3 total partners and 1 employee on payroll. How can we use, oh, sorry, it keeps moving. There we go. How can we as owners pay ourselves with PPP if we are not on payroll?
You're, in the beginning of this presentation, they talked about your 1099s, and then there was another one with your K1. So yours considered for in a partnership as being self-employed. So box 14 on your K1 is the self-employed portion or your guaranteed payments for your partnership. That's what they're referring to. So you should pull your partnership tax return K1 for yourself and add up all the 14s. Because you guys are pulling it out as draws.
Thank you. All right. S Corp 100% owner capped my calculation for loan at $100,000. Now you say my wage is 0 forgivable.
I say follow the instructions, read the instructions on the forgiveness work paper that is attached in the chat.
All right. So thank you, Michelle. I'm just going to tell everybody to email us. This is a lot of questions on this 20% thing. Is there something that we could post in the chat that is a truncated version of this 20% thing, Michelle? Like a little description of it or something? There's a lot of questions on this.
We can probably do a follow-up with everything that's available for the instructions.
Okay, thanks. All right, so all right, we have answered 116. We have 34 minutes left. We're finally down to, not anymore, we're down to 70. My S Corp has always paid semi-monthly. The 1st through the 15th gets paid on the 20th, and the 16th through the end of the month gets paid on the 5th. My loan was funded on the 14th. Okay, should I change to a biweekly pay period to make the pay periods work? And can it start on the following Sunday, which would be the 19th? The alternative pay period says you can go to the start of the new pay period. Later, so can you create new pay periods? Is that something you can do? Like if you're regularly bi-monthly, can you change it to like weekly, or can you do that, or no?
There is nothing in the instructions to say that you can change or not change. I mean, you would have to go back and document that and get all your employees. That's a personnel issue. That's probably a great question for the attorneys.
I think so too. Thanks. So like if I read what you wrote here, this individual, if your pay date for the 1st to the 15th happens on the 20th and you got funded on the 14th, I would think that you can start your alternative covered pay period on the 20th.
I would say yes, because that's the date you're paying it.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need to break out gross payroll amounts to employees from payroll taxes, Fed and state? And what about workman's comp fees with employee overhead? So workman's comp fees are not covered under forgiveness. FICA is not covered, but state taxes are.
The employer state taxes are.
The employer state taxes are, okay. What reports will the banks and SBA use for the FTE? I've only seen 941 and state payroll forms mentioned. Those forms do not show full-time versus part-time. I actually don't know what shows full-time versus part-time unless ADP or Paycheck shows that somehow.
I know that ADP and Paychecks, I've been told from both of those organizations, are working on reports specifically for the PPP loans to break all that out for the FTEs and everything, and have exactly what's allowable and what's not allowable to pull them right off your payroll reports.
Question for Michelle, is forgiven loan and $1,200 check considered income for 2020 taxes?
You mean the individual stimulus payment?
Yeah, the individual stimulus payment and anything that's forgiven on a loan.
So that's why I'm having this conversation. So the Internal Revenue Service has stated that the stimulus payment, either the $1,200 per person in your household and the $500 for each child, is 100% non-taxable income, 100% forgiven. They don't want it on a tax return. They don't want it included on a tax return. It is your money. The free part, that is why we're setting it up as a loan and putting the expenses against it, because the Internal Revenue Service also does not want the income or the expenses included on your tax return.
Thanks, Paul. All right. Okay. Can I pay my credit card bill that I use for my business, but is on my name, but I use only for my business expenses with the EIDL loan? So technically, yes, you can do whatever you want with the EIDL loan. You're supposed to pay business credit card interest monthly payments. You're not necessarily supposed to pay them all off, but they're not really checking what you're using it for. So, but you're not supposed to just pay a bunch of debt off. All right. If you choose to start with the alternative pay period, then is that the same date you start also counting all other expenses too?
Yes.
Okay. Our PPP loan arrived on May 11th, and we are going to count payroll that is run for the week ending May 17th. So that's correct, as our first weekly payroll. So do we need to use 5/17 as the first date to start counting for all forgivable expenses? That is the first date of the alternative pay period too. Yes. Or do we start counting? Yeah, so you start counting the 17th, not the 11th. If a client PPP loan included payroll for my employees, 210,000 and 100,000, payroll for my employees, 210,000 and 100,000 for line 31 of Schedule C, 64,000. I hope my max forgivable amount is not just $15,000 a month or amount. You clarify. All right, so your payroll for your employees at 210, you would take 210 divided by 12 and times by 2.5, and that would be your total. You take 210 divided by 52 and times it by 8. That'd be your total forgiveness for your employees, and for you, your total forgiveness for you would be $15,385, because it's only 8-week period. You can't prorate yourself and pay yourself $100,000 in 8 weeks. Could I hire a relative part-time to help meet the PPP 75% minimum cost, even though I've never had that employee except myself and my own S-Corp? So an individual owned S-Corp, one person, can they just hire some random person maybe a relative to help with a 75% minimum. Do you know that answer, Sunita or Michelle? Can they, if they're like single member S Corp, can they hire just like somebody and?
You hire a new employee. That is allowed.
How do we deduct taxes that will not be considered forgivable, i.e. FFRCA payments and federal taxes? So you just need to separate those from your state taxes, but you can't necessarily, well, you can deduct them as expenses for your taxes, but you can't necessarily deduct them and make them forgivable per se.
You can't double dip.
Okay.
So if you're doing the FMLA part, you're providing the $2,000 and the $10,000, there's two different buckets. If you're actually paying that to any of your employees, those payroll costs have the ability to have a credit attached to them. They have to be backed out of this forgivable part of the PPP loan because you're already getting a tax credit on them. So they want you to subtract them and keep them separate.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, so $15,385 per employee in 8 weeks. So the answer is no, unless those employees get paid $100,000. The $15,385 max per employee, including yourself as an individual owner, is not for every employee. It's for every employee that gets paid $100,000 or more. That's the max forgivable amount in 8 weeks. Nice try. All right. Let's see here. I applied EIDL on 4/15 and have numbers starting with 3/6. Dang it, where'd it go?
Sorry, I answered that.
Okay, that's cool. Like it just disappeared. All right, Triple P. Where did it go? All right, so Triple P, our PPP funded on 5/21. But our next payroll work period doesn't start till 5/31. And paychecks for that period not paid until 6/12. So are you saying that we can count day one as 5/31? I don't know if you're allowed to wait 10 days. Do you know if, Michelle, like it's not super clear in the 11-page document. There's hopefully going to be some other explanation here. See if it says, it doesn't say what the limit is on the day you get funded and when the next payroll date can be. It just gives an example of 7 days or 6 days. So yours is 10 days. So I don't have an answer for you on that. I'll send you some more information. But yeah. As a small restaurant owner with a total of 3 owners, 1 employee, how can the owners pay themselves? Okay, we already talked about that one.
We've already talked about that one.
Yeah. If someone, for PPP, if someone satisfies FTE reduction expenses, how does the cash compensation get counted for, or does it not? And we just get relief on the FTE. For example, if someone refuses work on the entire time, and we label them as 1 FTE, do we also get a cash amount that is forgiven or is just the FTE? I think if you offer somebody work back and they refuse, you can't count them as an FTE at all. That's the way I read that question. If my EIDL loan was if my EIDL loan was taken over by my PPP loan, Chase Bank, do the same terms, apply 30-year fix, and use for whatever I need for my business, etc. This hasn't been clear to me. I just know the percentage is lower. So what we're being told, if you received a EIDL loan before April 3rd, it could happen that when your PPP lender gives you a PPP loan, your EIDL loan merges into the PPP loan, But guess what? It's a 1% 2-year loan. I think the 30-year goes away and the other one goes away, 3.75. But great question. We haven't really, so we're only about 5 or 6 weeks into PPP being funded for the first tranche. That means we haven't even hit 8 weeks yet from first tranche. So we actually don't have a lot of answers what's going to happen after 8 weeks with your EIDL or your PPP. We won't know that until like another 3 weeks. If we negotiated with our landlord to defer April rent, can we pay if now with PPP money? Can we pay July early? You cannot pay July early, or only 2 months worth. You can only pay. It's really weird. It says you can only pay what's incurred or paid during the pay period. I mean, the cover period. So you can't pay July. You can't pay forward. Could we get a copy of the report stating that salaries of employees that own 20% are the company, blah, blah. All right, so we talked about that a lot. We are going to send something out like that. PPP, did I just hear the lawyer correctly that, we don't have a lawyer on here, but that a new guidelines says owners with 20%, okay, I'm not gonna answer the 20% question anymore, because everybody's asking. Okay, let's see what else I can get here. Were we told certain taxes are not part of the PPP application? Can you please elaborate? Yes, you can't use, you can't get federal taxes. You can't get FICA forgiven, just state. Deposit date was 4/2 plus 8 weeks equals 5/31. Why are we counting payroll? Why are we counting payroll dated as a 6/5? I
believe Lourdes is asking on the example, the dates.
Okay. All right. So Michelle, as far as payroll for owners, do you mean for C Corp also?
C Corp's a different conversation.
Okay. C Corp is different. I'll put the information in here. You guys can reach out to us. So any of you that would like to get a hold of Michelle, I'm going to put our information in there. You can email us. Maybe put the subject line, want to talk to Michelle, and then we'll figure out the best way to make that happen. I don't want to like inundate Michelle with a lot of phone calls and emails, but we will figure out how to do that and make it best for everyone. What is the maximum amount to apply for on a PPP loan? It is $10 million. You can apply for a $10 million loan if you have that much of payroll in 2.5 months. The FICA that is not forgiven is the employer portion, yes? I think the answer is yes. It's unfair for nail and hair salon until now they are not allowed to reopen yet. If the covered period would be extended for them, the answer is no. Currently, the covered period is not going to be extended. It may be extended later, but as of today, the answer is no. You can still, if you can't open, you can still pay your people if you wanted to, your employees. You just have to pay them to sit at home, unfortunately, if you want it forgiven. If you don't care about any of that, you could just use it to operate, or you could pay it back so that you don't have to pay interest. Was the PPP extended to 16 weeks from 8 weeks? So the answer is no. It's trying to go through the Senate, the House, and all the other places it has to go to before it goes to law. I mean, before it comes to law. So anything that you guys hear, everybody hears that it's 8 weeks, it's 16 weeks, it's 24 weeks, it's 2 years. Everything is fake news unless it is law. So the answer for all these questions is no until it becomes law. And we're not the lawmakers, so we all have to wait patiently for that to happen. Can I pay back commercial rent and have it be forgivable? I don't know what you mean by pay back, but if you have rent and your rent expense is part of your PPP loan, which you would take your rent expense for the year divided by 12 times 2.5, and that's what you can apply for. And the first 8 weeks is forgivable if appropriately documented. Can we give raises to employees if they are due, or do we need to keep them at their original salary? So it's not super clear if you can give raises or how much you can give raises. Originally it was 25%. I'm not sure if Michelle has updated information on that. I didn't see it in the 11-page document if you can give raises or not.
Didn't see anything like that either. The AICPA didn't address that.
Okay, so for the raise question, which there's quite a few, we don't know. Something about minor children just says minor children. This is really weird. Oh, so can you put your kids on payroll and have it forgiven, like minor children?
What are they going to be doing for you if they're minor children? Working in the business? You'd have to have some justification on why you'd put them in the business. So I have some clients who they use their children in advertising and marketing, and they're paying them for modeling fees.
That's cool. That's awesome. All right. Well,
And then they pay retirement on them. That's how they're going to fund their education.
that's smart.
Absolutely.
That is dang smart. Okay. We've answered 177 and we have 42 left and we have 17 minutes. CPA question. Can you provide more information about the IRS not wanting PPP expenses showing up on the P&L? How would expenses be paid for by PPP be accounted for?
So as in my presentation, you're going to set up an account if you're using a general ledger package, and all those expenses, instead of being a debit to expense, they're going to be a debit against this loan. They're not even going to hit your profit and loss statement at all.
Okay, stuff. All right, we had 8 full-time employees before PPP. Now we have 7 full-time and 1 with 30 hours per week. I thought 30 hours is considered full-time in California. Well, it may be considered full-time in California, but unfortunately from the 11-page guide that came out that we're hoping that there's going to be more information, an FTE person is 40 hours. So the question is that going to hurt us when we come to forgiveness? It may hurt you a little bit because you are not going to be able to count that person since they're not 40 hours. Can employer increase each payroll by 25%? So again, we don't know that yet. It came out first, but then it wasn't like explained further in 11-page. What happens after the 8 weeks? Do we stop paying our employees? Well, the PPP money is not necessarily used to bring people back from unemployment and then just fire them again. But if something happens in 8 weeks and you can't pay them, yes, unfortunately, you're probably gonna have to put them back on unemployment. The loan's not meant to hire people and then just fire them again. But if you have to do what's best for you and your business. So we have no idea what's gonna happen after 8 weeks, but we're almost there, about 3 weeks away from the first funding. So we'll have some examples for these. What are acceptable idle business expenses? Pretty much anything. They're not coming into your bank account and checking. It's not a forgivable loan. So you can use it pretty much for whatever you want, whatever it would take normally to operate, run, control, sustain your business. Line 10 of the forgiveness application says to include line 9 in the total payroll costs. That may be true. I'm gonna have that person email us because I don't know how to answer that. Suggestions, maybe having an ADP or paycheck payroll processor to support with documentation and answer questions. That's a great suggestion. Maybe we'll have somebody on payroll later in the future. Lots more questions around the 20%. I'm just gonna have everybody email us. Do you have a sample of how to track expense in QuickBooks that Michelle mentioned? Do you have a sample of how to track expense in QuickBooks that Michelle mentioned? So I'm not sure if there's something that you mentioned, Michelle.
I can put something together.
Okay, cool.
That we can share.
I'll send, again, if you are asking questions specific to Michelle, I'm going to send you our information. Please put Michelle or like to contact Michelle in the subject line, and we will we'll figure all that out. Is the EIDL grant to be declared as business income or as a gift?
No.
You might already have answered this, so the answer is no. If I'm getting PUA and get approved for EIDL, do I claim entire loan on certify for PUA in 1 week and pay off debt from business, then certify 0? Okay. If you are getting PUA and you get approved for EIDL and you get funded for EIDL, you can have both. You just can't use them for the same purpose. You can't use EIDL for payroll. I received the EIDL forgivable amount. I just applied for PPP. Can I still receive forgivable money for the PPP? So the answer is yes. But what happens is, dang it, where'd it go? All right, well, the answer is yes. You could have an EIDL grant and a PPP, and the PPPs will still be forgiven. It just, this is also in the 11-page guide. This came out about a month ago as well. But if you say you get a PPP that is 50,000 and you get an EIDL advance that's 5,000, the most that could be forgivable on the PPP is not 50, it's 50 minus 5 in that example. So the most forgivable amount that you can get for triple P is 45 in that example. All right, so some more questions about the IRS and PPP. So we'll get those to Michelle. Are all employees to return to work by June 30th to be eligible for forgiveness? The simple answer is yes. That's how it's stated. All full-time employees that you had before February 15th need to come back by June 30th. Can you speak briefly about C Corp issues? You mentioned C Corps are totally different without any specifics.
Ask that later.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that later. Please. It must be something that's a lot longer of an explanation than just, hey, this is how it works. So maybe we will do in the future with Michelle, maybe we'll just do entity specific type training, as they're all very different. It's all case by case. I believe this was mentioned earlier, but I forgot what the answer was. Sorry, but can we give our EE, must be FT.
Employees.
Oh, employees, our EE, okay. Bonuses during the PPP period. So you can only if it's a common practice that you had either from January 1st to February 29th or in 2019 as a normal practice. If that was the case, then yes. If not, then no, it won't be forgiven. It has to be in the process. If employee owners of a business are collecting unemployment and receive their PPP loan funds, can they continue on unemployment and use the PPP loan funds for payroll at the end of their 8-week term? So the answer is, the quick answer is no. You could, it's tricky. So if you're on unemployment and you get PPP, you can't use them at the same time. But you can extend your unemployment or get back on it later, and you can't accumulate all your payroll and pay everybody on the last week of the 8 weeks. You can't do that. All right, let's see here. Apply for EIDL loan, received advance, but no answer on the loan itself. Will SBA send a rejection letter? Well, they'll send an email that will tell you if you're approved or declined. The advance does come before the loan, always. 2 employees stopped coming to work during this time frame. Will this affect the forgiveness? Not necessarily. You just have to document it correctly. Just because they left, you have to show that you tried your best on good faith to get them to come back to work. Can you decline PPP loan for now and then reapply for it once businesses can reopen to use for salaries later? You can decline the PPP loan. That's your right. I would not decline it if I were you, because we have no idea if it's going to be extended. We don't know if there's going to be more PPP money after the second tranche, or if there's not. We don't know that. I would accept it, but it's up to you. It's your business decision, not anyone else's. How do you pay yourself when self-employed to meet the forgiveness? So we talked about that several times. Chuck, I'll send you our info. I can keep PPP as a loan, not forgivable, and collect PUI. You're not supposed to do that. Technically you could, but you're not supposed to double dip. But you got to be careful with that, because that could be fraud and they could potentially fine you. But we don't know. I don't know that answer 100%. All right, some more questions on this 20% thing. I'm going to send you our info because we can't answer that at this time. It's all case by case. Because California will be allowing expenses, it would seem to make more sense to classify your expenses in your P&L rather than not include them at all. I don't know that answer.
I'm not making up the rules. I'm telling you what they say.
All right, cool. Good stuff. I should say that more often. That's a really good response. Go ahead, Sia.
Sorry, no, I'm just.
All right. You're just sighing because we have 8 minutes left and we answered 213 questions. We have 24 left. Is that, yeah. It's a lot. This is a lot, everyone. But thank you for the challenge. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. We're really happy we have a 3-day weekend so we can,
If we amortize the questions over the missing one for Memorial Day, you've hardly done any.
That's true, man. That'd be amazing. All right, PPP forgiveness, expenses incurred. So payroll incurred during the 8 weeks can be paid after the 8 weeks on regular pay day, correct? So payroll incurred during the 8 weeks. Well, technically the answer to that is true based on the new guidelines. You can, if it's paid during the 8 weeks, if it's incurred during the 8 weeks and paid later, the answer is yes, it could be. They changed that. All of you are fabulous. Thank you for continuing. Where did it go? Did you answer that one?
I did not.
Oh, it's right here. All of you are fabulous. Thank you for continuing to guide the way for us. Yes, you are welcome. Thank you for the compliment. Look at that. Boom. All right. Yes, with payroll and taxes, how do we show or deduct the non-forgivable portion? Like the workers' comp or federal taxes, because when we run payroll, that's automatically included in gross pay. You're just going to have to separate the two, I guess.
Right. So you can put the entire payroll in, and then you can back out the pieces that you know are not allowable. So the workers' comp, any payroll that's FMLA that you're getting tax credits on, any of the FICA tax, Medicare tax that's on the employer side, you just have to back it all out.
Okay. I didn't hear the answer about receiving communication from SBA on EIDL loans. I'm going to put our information in there. You can call SBA at the 800 number. You can also email them at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. All right, now we're getting some cool compliments. This is exciting. Thank you for your perseverance and dedication. You're welcome. That's what we're here for.
I got one asking whether I could wear a lighter shirt next time. So,
you? Yeah, you should wear a lighter shirt next time.
Oh, a darker shirt. It wasn't
darker shirt. Okay,
it wasn't working terribly well.
You should probably just wear like a neon shirt or something like that.
I've changed the background. It might be easier to work
just
with.
like glow in the dark. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you do that. I've seen you do Matrix, but I haven't seen you glow in the dark. I think what people are saying is to use the class function in QB QuickBooks, which allows you to run a separate P&L with or without the PPP money. Is that true?
Well, my suggestion was to put classes for these 4 categories of the different ones that are available. So when you print the report out, they will be separated into those 4 different sections.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle.
But I'll put together an example and I'll print it out and we can give it to everybody so they can see what the report actually looks like.
Okay. I've received the EIDL forgivable amount. I just applied for the PPP loan. Can I still receive the forgivable money for the PPP? You can. It's just you have to minus your EIDL advance from the PPP amount, and that's the total that you can have forgivable. You just can't have the total. Yeah, whatever. You can't have the funded amount 100% forgivable. An employee was just granted a 2-month medical leave for pregnancy due to uncertain risk from pregnancy. She is a part-time 12-hour-week dental hygienist, so a high wage earner, and a significant portion of my PPP loan. Is she now exempt? Do I need to hire a replacement even though I don't really need her? Can I make up the FTE with another non-hygienist employee? I think this is definitely an attorney question. I'll put our information here. I don't know how to answer that, but I thought it would be good to ask it. My point is that you would use classes to designate PPP expenses, and then you could run 2 separate reports, one for the feds include. So yes, you could do all that, or we can get you in connection with Michelle. We are a C Corp. We have 2 owners over 20. Okay, 20%. All right. So we are going to put our information in there. Everyone, I'm assuming the 15,385 would be for, if that's the max for sole props, that would be the max for anybody, right? Any
Correct.
employee, right? Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
All right. All right.
Can we ask this one? One of our hourly weekly paid employees would like to cash out their vacation balance of 100 hours. Would this be allowed and go under gross payroll and be forgiven?
From my reading, if you're paying it and it's for separation or payment for leave, it's absolutely included.
Awesome.
All right. Somebody's asking, like, was it wrong if they got money in the bank on May 7th, they changed their payroll period to biweekly, so it could start on May 8th. Was it wrong to modify their payroll period? I don't know if it was wrong or not. We don't really have guidance on that yet, if that was wrong. I have an employee
When we
who's
get guidance, it's going to be too late.
yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't laugh. I apologize. I shouldn't laugh at that. All right. We paid our employees that are working during this time an additional amount for staying with us during this time. We classified it as a bonus. Yeah. If you don't normally pay bonuses, then it's not going to be 100% forgivable. And we don't know if you're allowed to pay them. So is there a better way to classify it? So yeah, if you don't normally do bonuses, yes, the better way to classify it would be a raise. But we don't know if raises are forgivable or not. We don't know how much. The California Department of Labor has rules about changing pay periods. That's good to know. I didn't know that. I don't know if it's California specific. It might be federal. I'm not sure, since this is a national.
I believe Shauna stated that if your pay is due today, you have to pay it out today. You can't pay it out tomorrow. So, if you can't pay them late, you can pay them earlier, is what she stated on one of our other webinars.
Yeah, that kind of goes with so if you need to, if being on a 2-week period is causing you problems, you can change your 2-week period so it's earlier than 2 weeks, but not later.
Okay. I'm 100% owner of my business, sole proprietor. And then I did line 31. Sorry. Do I just divide up for the 8 weeks? So that's my pay.
And Scott,
52 times by 8. That's your total. Huh?
Scott, you froze on us for a moment.
All right. Am I here now?
You're here. Yes.
Yep. And you're in the matrix. I'm 100% of my business, sole proprietor, and then I did line 31. Do I just divide that for 8 weeks? So you take line 31, you divide it by 52 and times by 8, and that's your total forgivability amount. You take line 31 divided by 12 times 2.5, and that's your total PPP loan amounts. All right. Okay, so it is noon. We did a really good job, team. Michelle and Sunita, David and Alan. So we answered 241 questions, which is phenomenal. I think that's our record. And we have 12 in the queue. So, or 11. If we didn't get to your question, please email us at loans@asksbdc.com. Put in the subject line what you want. Like, I want access to Michelle. I want to talk to the Matrix guy. I want to talk to Zoom God. I just want to talk to whomever will listen to me at SBDC Northern California, which we have plenty of people here for you at no cost, 100% no cost. You can go to your local center, or you can email us at loans@asksbdc.com. You can call us at 833-ASK-SBDC. If it's Spanish speaking, it's Espanol at loans@asksbdc.com. Sorry, Espanol at asksbdc.com. And then you can also go to asksbdc.com and find out a bunch of other information and watch these videos live stream. So special thanks to our guest, Michelle Elder. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for your information. By popular demand, you are going to be brought back if you're available for a lot of other questions, apparently, around this 20% C Corp, S Corp, all this great stuff. But thank you very much, Michelle, for your time. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Sunita. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
You guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
And we will not be running on Memorial Day. We are
Okay.
taking the day off. So our next event is on Wednesday.
Yes. Thank you, Alan.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.